Words are about to be spoken on the extreme life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the Ad-Free Shows Podcast Heat and Wrestling According to Alba Networks. I'm John Alba. That's the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. Man, it's back on the road via satellite. One of those days. Where are you now?
Via satellite, I am emanating from the lovely Orlando, Florida. We're down here at Orlando, Florida, doing 3 beautiful days of television. Live Impact tonight. Tomorrow we have a big premium live event, and we're taping TV on Saturday. So it should be a fun weekend.
TNA back in action here. There's a little bit of a hiatus of programming. How does it feel to get things going again?
Oh, good. It's crazy. I know there was a lot of discourse about that, but I mean, there were some circumstances that were greatly outside of, especially the talent's control, which I was aware of, and just I'm glad they just didn't really go into detail about it to even start that conversation. But there's a reason why they couldn't do live TV after that, and it was something I'm not going to go into here, obviously. But I'm glad we're past it and we're back on the groove and we're doing live TV.
Interesting. Okay, a little ambiguous there, but hopefully good things are coming TNA's way. I definitely think good things are.
Great things are coming. Magnificent things. Wonderful things are coming.
I figured that would be the word you'd use as the descriptor, of course. And a wonderful evening is coming to New York City, my friend, because we are now, of course, we are now just a little over a week away from the Hardy Party in New York City at the legendary Connolly's in Times Square. This is going to be one for the ages. It's a Hardy Party weekend. You guys are going up to Watertown the night before. Then you're taking your asses down to New York City, and it's going to be a hell of a time. Live Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Live Jeff Hardy concert. A meet, greet, and delete for the ages. How excited are you for this one, man?
Super excited. It's going to be a very fun week in New York, man. So excited to come back to New York. We're getting to see kind of the best of both worlds. We're going to be in upstate New York on Friday night in Watertown, as you said, with 2CW. And then we're going to be coming to Times Square in the heart of the Big Apple on Saturday. And it is very much going to be the biggest Hardy Party of the year. It's one you do not want to miss.
Going to be so much fun. HardyBoysLive.com is where you get your tickets for this. Matt's going to be on Busted Open Radio this coming week talking about this show. We hope to see you guys there. Get your chance to meet the Hardy Boys in person, signed item. You get a picture with them. Super intimate environment. These are some of the best events in all of wrestling. We hope to see you there. HardyBoysLive.com is where you get your tickets.
Yes, man, it's going to be a meet, greet, eat, and delete. Yes. There's going to be something for everyone.
I like when we add the eat in because that always adds even extra value. We'll get you like some fish and chips. They got some good fish and chips there.
Is that their specialty?
You get all that Irish food, and you get some of the UK food, all that. Hardy food. Hardy food for the Hardys.
Yeah. They have any shepherd's pie in there?
I'm sure they have to have shepherd's pie.
Okay.
How could they not?
For a little shepherd's pie.
Okay. All right. Well,
shepherd's pie. Listen to Jeff's concert, man. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll make sure it all happens. Very much looking forward to that one. Normally, we spend a lot of time talking about a ton of different things here, but you are on a very tight time limit today because TNA is so busy, so I don't want to waste too much time here. But your boy, Coach Rosie's in, saying good to have lunch with the sensei of Mattitude.
What's up, Josh?
That's your boy there. And, yeah, it's crazy stuff happening, man, in the wrestling world. And this week's going to be all about John Cena and the stuff that he had going on television. Your new Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
You had a lot to say about this on social media. And then we'll end the episode by trying to definitively decide, Matt, is John Cena the GOAT? And there's so much to get into. I don't want to waste any more time. So nice and early here, please hit us with that Matt fact.
Matt fact. Matt is so happy for John Cena. Matt fact. Matt misses Eddie G 20 years later.
And that's how I was going to get into this week's episode, because You know,
Yeah,
Dirty
man.
Dominic, Mysterio, and John Cena had a hell of an Intercontinental Championship match on Raw this past week. And everyone's talking about how great Dirty Dom is. And it coincides with today, as we tape this on Thursday, being the 20-year anniversary of, or I guess just the date of Eddie Guerrero's passing. It's been 20 years since then. Just absolutely nuts to think how much time has passed and how much has happened. Dominic clearly embodying so much of him. And I asked you before we taped to read the Players Tribune article that Rey Mysterio wrote as a tribute to Eddie. What did you make of the article when you had a chance to skim through it?
Man, it was great. I got in my feels a little bit because I do know how close Eddie and Ray were. I mean, they were more than friends. They were brothers. I mean, they really, really were. And they, you know, Eddie had taken Ray under his wing when he was really young, and they always stayed so tight. They made so much magic together. They loved working together. And the fact that they did that angle where custody of Dom, you know, who's the father, that whole thing they did in 2005, the fact that that lives on now and Dom has embraced that, you know, as a heel, and he has mimicked Eddie in so many ways, away from the mustache and the mullet, everything. It's so inspiring. And I really wish, I'm sure he sees him somewhere, wherever he is right now, wherever Eddie Guerrero's soul is. I'm sure he is looking down at Dom and Ray and smiling, but I wish he could be here in real time, in real life, and see how great Dom has been and how many people Eddie has inspired. That's one thing that always hits me real deep when people pass away, especially at a young age, about the people they inspire, the influence, the effect they have on other people. Like Eddie had that effect on so many people, and just what he's doing with Dom will keep Eddie living on forever. And I love that so much. I wish Eddie could be here to see it.
There was a line in that piece where I think Ray referred to Eddie as your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like it's probably universally true. I can't think of many wrestlers that don't look at Eddie as one of the true all-time great, well-rounded performers in wrestling history. Do you think Eddie was as appreciated as he is now when he was still alive, when he was working? Did people realize his true brilliance back then?
You know, no. I mean, no one is. When people are retired or when they're dead and gone, there's always a much greater level of appreciation for them. They actually get their flowers then, which is sad, which is, you know, something that I preach about all the time. I want to see people get their flowers while they're, you know, here and in the now and healthy and doing stuff and making a difference. It's great when that happens. But no, he did go to a level of great appreciation to a lot of wrestling fans. And the fact that he was rewarded with that WWE championship and that big victory over Brock, it was so fantastic that happened. And it really was. It was a touching moment where him and Benoit were together as champions, because, you know, they were best friends for the longest time. I mean, that was a special moment. But to see that Vince McMahon realized how special Eddie was, and Vince loved Eddie. I know we've talked about this some, but Vince loved Eddie. Vince thought Eddie was just a tremendous character, where a lot of times he'd go like, oh, fuck, he's a luchador. I don't care about that luchador. I don't care about those flips. I don't care about that lucha style. He knew he was a great entertainer, and he loved Eddie's style. And I'm so happy that Vince decided to pull the trigger on him and greenlight him winning the world title. That was something that Eddie greatly deserved, and I'm so happy it happened for him.
Did the locker room share that sentiment?
Yeah, everybody did. Eddie was universally beloved, man. He was someone that had been through his struggles, that people know had a tough path. They'd seen him in shitty spots, but they knew how talented he was, and they knew at his core he was an amazing human being that gave a shit about everybody. He really did. He wanted everybody to be better. He wanted everybody to be happy. He wanted everybody to be healthy. He wanted what was best for every individual person. He was that kind of human being.
Ray talks about the SummerSlam 2005 match in that article, where it was the ladder match for the custody of Dom, and there was a cross-up with when Vicky was supposed to go to the ring and when the ref was supposed to do something. And it's a pretty infamous clip of Eddie hanging on the top of the ladder screaming, "Where the fuck's Vicky? Where the fuck's Vicky? Like, where is this?" And in the piece, it talked about how he was irate backstage. He lost his shit. He was going crazy. but he saw Dom, who this was the first match that Dom was ever like actively involved in, and his temper just went away, and he became super chill Eddie and was kind to him. Do you have any recollections of that, or does that resonate with what Eddie's personality was?
Yes, I think that does resonate with how Eddie, and he was very famous. People knew he was well known for having being a hothead, having a temper. Like if he really got upset about something, because he was very passionate. And part of that, dude, you know, I'm married to a Puerto Rican. My wife, she's very passionate. Like when things are great, they're the most amazing they can possibly be. But when things are bad, it's like, holy hell, it's awful. You know what I mean? Like Eddie was like that too. When he loved something, I mean, he was so passionate and excited and so just ecstatic about it. But whenever he was down or something went wrong or something went awry and he was upset or somebody fucked up, I mean, he would get upset about things and he would voice his opinion. He was very, very passionate when it came to being happy or upset. And that makes sense. But when he would look at someone like a child, like Dom, who's young and innocent, I know he changed. You know, he would, oh my God, I can't be angry. God, I'm angry, I know, but like this is a child. I have to be a good influence for this child. And that's just kind of the duty he was.
Do you feel like you watch Eddie when you watch Dom in a way?
I do feel like that to a degree. I feel like he is carrying Eddie with him now. You know, Eddie lives on through Dom. He is carrying Eddie and keeping his legacy alive.
It's also a smart move for Dom because while there's only ever going to be one Eddie Guerrero and there's only ever going to be one Rey Mysterio, it's a lot harder to be Rey Mysterio than it is to be Eddie Guerrero in terms of embodying all of that. And what I think so many wrestlers love about Eddie is that there are parts of him that you can take with you and incorporate into your game. And Dom has done a really fantastic job at that. And we can talk about what he did with Cena here in just a second. But is there anything else you want to say on Eddie? Because we've done 2 episodes about Eddie in the past. You can check them out in the archives, extremehardy.com. But is there anything else you want to add here on the 20 years to the day that Eddie passed?
I mean, the first thing I would say to anyone who's listening to this podcast, go back in our archive and listen to the Eddie episodes we've done. They're great. Eddie was one of the most intriguing, interesting human beings I've ever interacted with. And I've said this many, many times. I've said this to everyone. Like Eddie could read a crowd every single night differently, better than anybody else I've ever been in the ring with. He could feel a crowd. He could detect what the crowd wanted better than anybody else, which is a special gift to have in this business. And a lot of people can't do that in this day and age. So he was very gifted in that field. Yes, go back and listen to these things. And Eddie Guerrero was such an amazing talent. He was an amazing human being, and I feel so blessed that I got the opportunity to know him. I got the opportunity to wrestle him several times, and just that he was part of my life. I feel very special that I was able to interact with him.
So Monday Night Raw, John Cena, final appearance in Boston. Big intro from Paul Triple H Levesque. Decides right there on the spot that John Cena is indeed the greatest of all time. John comes out, cuts a little thank you promo. Dom interrupts him, gets in his face, some smack talking, impromptu match. John Cena walks away the Intercontinental Champion. Is the first time in his career, as he's just a couple more appearances left here, that he's won the Intercontinental Championship, making him a Grand Slam champion. Before we dive into like the match itself and everything, what do you think about John winning the Intercontinental title and what that does for his legacy?
I thought it was a very smart move. I think the fact that you are giving him a title that he's never won before, you're rewarding him with that title on his way out. It also makes him a Grand Slam champion, which is something very special. It's smart because that way you highlight him and you're sending him out on a high note, which is very important. You know, because there's been so much discourse and his whole run this year. I like the fact I applaud the fact that they attempted to turn him heel. That John wanted to do that as well. John wanted to attempt and try and be a heel. So it's just one of those things. I mean, you never know what's going to happen until you try it. people that bitch about it and say like, well, they should never try to do it. I mean, what if they never turned Hogan heel? It's not the exact same circumstances, but sometimes things like that work. Hogan turned heel and joined the NWO, and it was a huge deal for the business. And I would imagine they were hoping something like that would happen with John, but John is just so beloved, and he's done so much over his time. He's very different from Hulk in many ways with the way people view him. It was just hard to legitimately get people to boo him. And now wrestling fans are so much smarter than they have ever been. It is hard to legitimately get them to boo people that they look at as beloved icons, and legends and whatnot. And John absolutely fits in that category.
I agree with some of that sentiment. I don't agree with all of it. I do think there are ways to get the crowd against Cena. I don't think the creative of the heel turn was done well. And not just the turn itself, but up to SummerSlam. I just didn't feel like he was booked particularly well.
And well, I do agree. Once they started the whole Rock thing, and then Rock dropped out of it, that hurt everything. And that was an issue that WWE is responsible for, that they didn't follow through with that. Like, if you start that, you have to follow through.
Right. And I felt like you have this guy who has so much natural equity with the fan base that they're willing to play along. They're willing to do all they can to make sure that it's staying in trajectory with what the character is being presented as. And I just didn't feel like they gave enough in terms of the fluidity of the booking to get you to that point. And I wrote a column for Sports Illustrated this past week where I said, this was at risk of kind of going out with a whimper, this John Cena run. There's been a few great matches in it, but the run has not been great. But I felt what happened on Monday night was a big step in trying to redeem all of this and giving a guy who is truly the ultimate babyface this amazing top-tier, all-time great babyface moment in front of his home crowd, which is so antithetical to what WWE has done in the past with Vince for people in their home crowd. You know that firsthand from SummerSlam 2000. But he has this match with Dom, and you didn't see it live, and you and I were talking about it. I said, man, you're going to love this. I said, John Cena could have sneezed on Dom for the 1, 2, 3, and the crowd would have been into it. But they worked this just fun house show, gaga wrestling match that got over so huge. And I'd love to hear you break it down. How'd you feel watching this match, and what stood out to you about it?
Dude, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, it elevated Dom. Dom went out there and had such great composure. He came off as a massive star. I'm sure deep down he was nervous because he's wrestling John Cena in one of his final matches. But he killed it. It was great. I mean, they went out and they told a basic, simple story. They did simple things. They did things that couldn't miss. The crowd was there. It was lively. They're in Boston, in Cena's hometown. Dom is a piece of shit heel who has great heat, knows what he's doing, really knows how to annoy the people, and they just worked it the smart way. Like they did a really smart and brilliant match. They optimized crowd reaction. They threw a great tribute into Eddie G. The way they did all that was really good. Everything about it I loved. And even John Cena is big on calling his matches. A couple of people were like, well, this was, a little choppy or a little clunky. Man, fuck that. It happens in matches. There's times where Jeff has ran up and purposely slipped on the Whisper in the Wind and fallen down. And he just wants people to think that he fucked up. And I love the fact that people say, oh, Jeff's got to stop doing this. He can't even do it anymore, where he has intentionally done it. And the fact that wrestling doesn't have to always be so neat and so clean. Sometimes the more realistic it looks, the better. I mean, you don't want to go out there and have something look like completely awful and totally fucked up, but I do like it when things look a little rough around the edges. And there were a couple times that happened in this match, and I didn't mind that at all. Actually, if anything, I thought it added to the realism of the match, and I thought it made it just much more organic. It seemed like these were two guys out there fighting.
I didn't even honestly pick up on most of that. To me, it was just like, okay, they worked a fun match that could have been, like I said, I keep going back to house show match just because there was a lot of wink and a nod in the match. Yeah,
no, quite literally. There was. But so I put out this tweet, and I'm seeing the results. Just look at this. Look how they didn't do this. This wasn't good, or this wasn't good. Like fuck off. Like, dude, you know what was good? the crowd reaction. And that's all that matters. What matters as a barometer to what you're doing is what that crowd is doing in the venue. And if you have that crowd in the venue, the people who have paid money to get a ticket and they're going nuts in the arena, you've done your job. And they went out and they did their job and they did it great. It really was like the essence of pro wrestling. Like, whenever I say this, I love when people go out and have killer matches and they do these killer sequences and there's an occasional no sell and there's another no sell and they do this and double down. I'm down with all of that. I really am. But what I'm saying is the essence of what we do as sports entertainers, as pro wrestlers, is entertain the crowd and take them on a journey. And it's not always about the moves. I mean, it's about the moments and it's about doing a sequence of events in a match that is going to get the crowd emotionally invested in it. And they did it to perfection on that night.
When I said it's the feeling, it's that feeling that makes a match great or makes a match flop. The feeling, in my opinion, can be elicited with the story leading up to it. It can be elicited with the story being told in the match. It can be brought out through the moves in the match. But however the vehicle gets you there, what matters is having that feeling. And if you watch that reaction from the crowd, whatever it was, whether it was them just wanting to see John pick up this historic win, whether it was them hating Dom and wanting to see Cena overcome it one more time, whether it was the pop-up AA off of the 619, the feeling got there. And that's what made that match so special. And that reaction, I don't know how you feel. To me, I'm watching it, and a lot of people talk about like Austin Pops. That was right up there in terms of crowd reaction to me as when Austin helped Mankind win the title. Like, that was way up there.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was a great pop. They got the exact reaction they were working for. And you know what else, John, which is so important, which I will commend and give John Cena his kudos on this, his propers. Whenever he won the title, the way he celebrated, his facial expressions, and like the way he made it into a big deal, it could have been like, this is John Cena, 17-time world champion, right? He was the flag bearer of WWE for years and years and years. I mean, he could have been like, yay, I'm won the Intercontinental title. It's very cool. But when he won, he was like, oh my God, he was so excited to get the title, and the happiness in his face, the glee, the joy in his face. I mean, that made that moment too. And kudos to John for doing that, because he didn't necessarily have to do that, and he went above and beyond to try and make this win feel very special, and it made it feel more special, especially because it put the last piece of the puzzle, him winning the Intercontinental title and becoming a Grand Slam champion.
Well, there's something to all of that, in my opinion, and that is what I wrote about too. That win encompassed everything that the John Cena character was for the past 20 years. Rising above hate, never giving up. He was stacked in the corner with the odds against him, and he overcame it. And ironically, in this farewell run, as crazy as this sounds, we haven't really seen a lot of that,
right,
from John Cena, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But maybe for this one moment, maybe the last time he ever wins a match, for all we know, you saw all of the elements come together that made the John Cena character so special, combine and create this amazing moment. And it was an amazing moment. It's one of the best WWE moments of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That was just pure elation. There was nothing more to it.
Yes.
It was a feel-good pro wrestling moment.
It really was. Yeah, the elation on his face. It was a feel-good moment. Him winning the IC title, him becoming a Grand Slam champion, him doing that in Boston with Dominic, who is a great heel. You can ask for a better dancing partner, if you're trying to get a great crowd reaction. And dude, it truly was one of the greatest feel-good moments of WWE this year, no doubt.
Now, I know you've heard us talk about Chubbies here during the summer season on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, but I don't know if you heard, it's outerwear season, and Chubbies has certified winterproof jackets, sweatshirts, quarter zips, full zips, flannels, and a freaking full body puffer jacket. Yeah, you heard that right, fellas. You want to look sharp when you meet the family this holiday? Well, you got to check out our friends over at Chubby's. From family dinners to holiday parties, Chubby's has got you covered so you can focus on being yourself and let all the good vibes roll. Their stuff is so comfy, it should come with a warning label. See, as the temps drop and the weather gets grim, their flannels, pullovers, and quarter zips keep you warm, stylish, and ready for anything from freezing your tail off at the football game to crushing some donuts at the pumpkin patch to holding court around all the bonfire. Look, folks, I know how it goes. I've been there. It's pumpkin spice season. You're apple picking. You're pumpkin patch picking. You're along for the good Instagrams. And you better believe that when she's like, hey, babe, let's take a picture together, she's going to expect you to look good. And Chubby's is going to help you look good. And Chubby's is going to help you feel good. But then let's say you want to take it on your own time as well. Well, how about this? Chubby's has something that you probably didn't even expect. And that is the NFL collection. NFL by Chubby's. Whether you're tailgating, relaxing at home, or hot tubbing, NFL by Chubby's lets you represent your team in style. Their stretch polos and team trunks offer a comfortable, eye-catching way to show your team spirit wherever you are. So whether you're at the pumpkin patch, whether you're in the stadium, Chubby's has got you covered this holiday season. For a limited time, Chubby's is giving our listeners 20% off your purchase at Chubby's with the promo code Matt Hardy at checkout. But if it's Black Friday, skip the code and take advantage of even bigger markdowns during their exclusive Black Friday sale. Just head to chubbyshorts.com and make sure to support our show and tell them that the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy sent you. Sometimes you just want to cheer for the good guys. And John Cena is kind of the ultimate good guy, because there's something about Cena, and this is where we can begin our conversation here about the GOAT. Yep. There's something about Cena that I'm not sure most other top baby faces in history have had. Not to say they haven't, but most probably haven't. And it's that he resonates this authenticity that goes beyond the ring, that audiences recognize is real. This is a guy, Matt, who legitimately holds the record for the most Make-A-Wish grants fulfilled. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who has done a ton of charity work. This is the guy who will go out of his way to stop ringside and hand a kid a piece of his merchandise. And it's not to say that the other top baby faces in history haven't had that. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel John embodies that probably more than just about any other one did, though. What say you?
He does. He does embody that. I mean, he was known as the, he was a constant. He was the constant good guy. He was the constant baby face. He was the, the constant Make-A-Wish guy. I can't tell you. I mean, I've done dozens of Make-A-Wish events with John where we'd meet kids backstage and whatnot, but he is incredible when it comes to that. He was so proud to be a WWE ambassador, to be a WWE representative, and he took such great pride in it, and no one did it better. And on top of busting his ass in the ring in the matches, people give him a hard time and go, well, sometimes he's clunky, or he's not the smoothest, or not the not the not the coolest when it comes to performing always. But he is the ultimate good guy. He is the guy that would take the WWE name and he would march up to the top of the mountain. He would stick that flag in the mountain. He'd go, this is WWE and I'm the champion and I'm proudly represented. And he would do more media than anybody else. He would do more Make-A-Wish than anybody else. And he was just a WWE loyalist through and through and through. That's why I love the fact he is actually the guy who is the 17-time world champion, who holds the record now, because he is WWE for life. He's not going anywhere else. He's the WWE guy for life.
So is he the greatest WWE star of all time? because there are so many factors that go into
Yeah.
deciding that, right? Like, were they the biggest draw? John Cena is not the biggest draw in wrestling history. He's not the biggest draw in WWE history.
Right.
Hogan drew more business than him. Austin drew more business than him. That's just the fact of the matter.
Right.
There are other factors in play when having that conversation, of course, but it is true. On the other side of that, Cena dominated merchandise sales until Brother Nero came along, of course, and because he was bigger than Obama, so that was just different.
Bigger than O, baby, bigger than O,
bigger than O, leading the E into a new era. But but that's a part of the conversation. Yeah. There is the in-ring element, which, you know, I understand what you're saying about the clunkiness thing and does it really matter, but I do think some people talk about memorable matches and the quality of the matches when they have that conversation. So I ask you point blank, and we can break it down, but is John Cena the greatest WWE star of all time?
I mean, I think when it's all said and done, when you look at the schedule he maintained, when you look at all the media he did, the way he was a true ambassador for WWE, the Make-A-Wish leader, you know, who's done more Make-A-Wishes than anyone else. It's hard to dispute that he is not the greatest WWE superstar of all time. Sure, did he, you know, draw the most money of any superstar? No, but he's also been in different eras. He was also there when we were going through rough times economically, you know, and when business was down, and, you know, when there was only one company. It wasn't like a hot boom period when he had his run at any time. You know, it wasn't the Attitude Era, obviously. But there is no one that worked harder than John Cena. There was no one that was more loyal to WWE than John Cena. And that's why I'm glad there is no one that has been a world champion more times than John Cena. So yes, in my opinion, I think he is probably the most significant WWE wrestler, champion, greatest of all time WWE wrestler there's ever been.
Let me ask you this about the matches. You've worked with John. What's his in-ring psyche? Like, what's it like putting a match together with John?
I mean, John, especially, I mean, in the beginning, I worked with him early on when it was kind of like try and figure out a lot of what you're doing and then cost him in the ring. He still kind of had that ingrained in him from his time at OVW. And I love the fact that he would love to call stuff and change stuff on the fly. And probably part of that he got from Eddie, in all honesty. You know, John also was very good at filling a crowd. He would kind of determine like, oh, we should do this. But then like if the crowd tells us something different, then we can kind of change on the fly. And he will definitely be calling stuff in the ring. Hell, you can probably hear him. You know, people were talking about they could hear him on Monday night with Dom. But he would be vocal. He was great. He was passionate about it. I loved working with John. I thought John was great to work with. First and foremost, because he was passionate. He was smart. He got the entertainment aspect of pro wrestling, and he knew how to build to those moments. You know, I remember talking about the one time with Steve Austin. He gave me some advice. And I think I've said this on here once before, but I'll say it again. I remember he'd watch one of my matches. We were having a tag match, myself and Jeff. It's when we were starting to get over pretty big in 2000. He said, hey, I just want to tell you, like, when you come in, maybe instead you throw a good punch. He said, but as opposed to throwing a punch on that comeback and having these guys bump, maybe it was Christian, right? Or Too Cool, I don't know. He said, throwing a punch back. He said, why don't you give him a clothesline? He said, lay it in. It looks a lot more malicious and vicious. And I said, okay, well, you know, sometimes I try to do different things. And he said, oh, you know, a comeback. He said, it's a lot of it is like bump, 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 feed, bump, bump, feed. He said, a lot of it's all the same shit. He said, people are going to be taking bumps. You just want to build excitement in the crowd until you get to doing your signature stuff. And then you start, you know, rearranging that stuff in different orders. And that stuck with me a lot because it is true. I mean, a lot of guys do the same shit until they get to doing their signature stuff. And that's when you get creative and you put stuff in different orders or you figure out different ways to do it. But like, you know, when you're just first starting to try and build momentum, like in a tag match, for instance, you come in, it's like bump, 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 bump. You want something exciting to really get the crowd going from that heat session where they want to see their babyface get back on top, you know, the team. And John was so good at that. The reason I even use this analogy that Steve Austin gave me is like John was a master of that. He understood, like, I can just do whatever, I can call whatever. It's kind of the same shit until we get to my signature stuff. How can we figure out a different way to do shoulder tackle, swing, boom, you can't see me, 5 number, the shuffle. And he was very good at doing that. Like, he would do all the standard stuff that you would see him do every match, but he was good at like trying to do them in creative ways and move things around.
I've always appreciated about John, there's no way that he would ever let people know this publicly, but I'm convinced that John actually had his finger on the pulse of what the audience was saying. And maybe sometimes he would do things in a wink of a nod way just to acknowledge it, but not actually feed the trolls, if you will.
Right.
But when the criticism would come down on him in terms of his in-ring work, I feel like he almost always would respond with a great match. Like, think 05, 06, he becomes Super Cena for that first time, and he's getting a lot of criticism. All your matches are the same. All your matches are the same. He goes out at Royal Rumble 2007 with Umaga and has one of the best last man standing matches ever. And both of them were great. And Umaga was critically underrated as well.
Very much so.
And I know you would agree with that for sure.
Yes.
But then he goes out and he has the feud with Shawn Michaels later that spring. And they have their WrestleMania match. And a lot of people are like, this is kind of underwhelming. They go back out there and he and Shawn Michaels on a Raw in England go 60 minutes. And it's one of the greatest Raw matches of all time. And then this year, he's getting a ton of heat for the matches that he's having during his heel run. What happens? He turns babyface at SummerSlam. He and Cody have a legitimate 5-star street fight. It's an awesome match. So John always had that in him, and I can appreciate to a degree that he was willing to turn it on, and when maybe some of that heat was coming down on him. Knowing him how you do you think there's any truth to that? Do you think he had his finger on the pulse of what the audience was saying and criticism and critiquing with stuff like that?
I mean, I think so too. I honestly think he's the kind of person. I mean, if he's being a heel, I don't think he would want to be. He's okay with not having a great match, with it having people even think like, his match wasn't the best. I mean, he wants to do great in his role as a heel. He probably wants to make the babyface stand out and look great. But I mean, he also like doesn't want to like shine as a babyface if he is trying to be a heel in that journey. I mean, that's kind of, I feel like that's how his attitude has always been. He does play into almost like on a very much cerebral level in dealing with the fans. And I can't say that, or if they're saying like, oh, well, John Cena's no good, he's old, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, turn me babyface, watch me turn it back on again. And then he'll go out and he'll bust his ass to have a great match and be like, whoa, and like blow people away. I feel like he's very good at listening to the crowd and trying to gauge how they're going to react to him depending on what role he is playing in the ring. I think even as a heel, he was trying to do things where I think his intention was to do things that where they weren't going to think he was cool. They weren't going to do things that they're like, oh, that's so cool, John's doing that, he's a bad guy. I think he just wanted to like piss people off. He was really trying to be true to being a heel, to being a piece of shit bad guy. I feel like that's, even when he did anything, he said, no, you don't get anything new. You don't get anything new. A lot of people wanted like this new look, John Cena as a heel. He totally, reinvents himself, whatever. He's like, no, you get nothing new. This is what you get. And he knew that would piss people off. I feel like he was on the pulse in that capacity.
Now, normally during the holiday season, you're leaving that special gift under the tree, but how about you keep it in your pants? Enter the room. Dick first. Blue Chew isn't just a tablet. It's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting, like someone gave your downstairs a little bit of a pep talk and maybe even a gym membership as well. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And look, I know it's the holiday season. You are going to overstuff yourself. You're going to overindulge, as Matt Hardy would say. And maybe you don't have the energy. Maybe you're feeling a little too full after all that turkey. But Blue Chew has got your ass covered. Pop one, you chew it, you do it. This isn't just about performance. It's about legacy or third legacy. You give our group chat something to talk about. because when you lay it down, they're talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options at BlueChew.com, and we got a special deal for our listeners. As always, you get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use promo code Hardy at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time this holiday season. Head to BlueChew.com for details and safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring the extreme life of Matt Hardy. So when you put him in the conversation, like if I were to ask you who are the greatest 5 WWE stars of all time, who are you saying? Not necessarily in any order, just like the 5 guys.
If there was 5, I would say Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Stone Cold.
The
Rock.
John Cena.
Shawn Michaels.
Okay, so you wouldn't put Taker in that?
Well, that is tough though.
It is tough. It's very tough. That's why all this is so
right. Yeah, that really is tough.
Because I don't think a lot of people are going to disagree with you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Let me think about if I would rearrange that.
Well, not even rearrange, because I don't care what order it's in, because the bottom line is what I'm trying to bring to the point here is that you're saying that if John Cena is the GOAT, then he's above all those other names. In your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, especially for what he did for the company.
So in totality.
Shawn was amazing, but Shawn was never that kind of PR guy. There were a lot of times where Shawn got a lot of bad PR.
Certainly did.
You know what I mean? Steve Austin was a great company representative when he was on top, but then Steve had times where, he was pissed off and he walked out that time, and he wasn't always someone that was the greatest role model, in every capacity.
Rock's run wasn't long enough.
Rock's run was not long enough. You're right. John was there killing it for almost 20 years straight too. You know what I mean? So, and he was a company ambassador that was always looked as a good guy, always looked as a great guy to represent the company, never got in trouble. Never did shit that like people would look at like, oh, this guy, like, get him out of here. You know what I mean? He was never involved in anything controversial. Not that I can think of. He was just always a stand-up guy that was a great ambassador for WWE. And then just on top of that, I mean, you have to look at a guy that has done more, Make-A-Wish meets than any other person. And right there, I mean, that's a statement that shows you how big that guy's heart is.
Yeah. I think when the conversation boils down to what we were just saying, Austin probably at his peak was the biggest, but his peak was basically the length of his run, right? He had a very short run when all is said and done. I think it boils down to 3 names if you're trying to have this conversation: Hogan, Cena, and Undertaker. And Undertaker, it's tough because by the restrictions of his character, he couldn't be the Make-A-Wish guy publicly.
Yes, right. Well, I mean, he couldn't do much of anything publicly because he was so protective of his character. You know what I mean? He was ultra protective, and I get it. He came from that old school mentality, and I get it. There was a time where when Jeff had that little program with him, where my brother actually asked, he said, hey, would it be cool? And this is when he was doing American Badass. He said, if we did something where he hit Undertaker music, and then I walked out with the Undertaker thing and did a thing to you, like in his whole outfit, right? With the hat and the long trench coat, everything else, and did the whole Undertaker deal, had his face painted like that. So he said, no, I'd rather not do that because I know I'm going to go back to that one day. And I don't want to like even bring that up right now. I don't want to have anybody prostitute it or abuse it. I want to protect that. I want to protect it. I mean, and I thought it'd been so cool if Jeff would have done that then. But I mean, looking back in hindsight, I get why he did that. He was taught to be very protective of his shit, especially shit he got over that was over massively. And that's why he was that way.
And it's funny because Taker's best in-ring work came during his second run as the Phenom character, truthfully. Not to say that he didn't have good matches during his first run. He certainly did. His work with Mankind was very good. His stuff with Shawn Michaels was really good. But the bulk of his great in-ring run really came when you were on SmackDown with him, truthfully.
Right.
And he was the world champion there, 05, 06, beyond that. And obviously those tremendous WrestleMania matches that we all know and love that were a huge part of the streak from that stretch of 2010 to 2013 or so. It was an amazing stretch, but that's one match a year at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And I think Cena's consistency, where he could pull a few really good matches out of the hat in addition to his other work over that lengthy period of time, that matters. So then it comes down, if you're going to take Taker out of the equation, it comes down to he and Hogan. And I think for me, now keep in mind, I'm not a child of Hulkamania. I was not alive when Hulk Hogan was the top guy in the business in the 80s.
Right.
But it goes back to that authenticity factor where I kind of think objectively, Cena was a lot more authentic than Hogan publicly. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I think it's pretty objective. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree. Yeah, definitely 100%.
So when you factor that in, I think it has to be John Cena is the greatest WWE star of all time.
Yeah, I mean, even with Hogan, I probably subtract points from him just because he did leave WWE and he went to WCW and he was kind of leading. I mean, John Cena is a WWE lifer, you know what I mean? And he will be a WWE lifer. And I think that adds value to this argument as well, with him being the greatest of all time.
You don't see John Cena performing for the Sickos? Hey, you know what would be a great match that we're never going to see, unfortunately? John Cena and MJF would be an awesome match, and a great program too.
It would be. It would be a great match.
And unfortunately, we're not going to see that. But
I just saw someone today that said, who is going to be the WWE World Champion first? Dirty Dom Mysterio, Braun Breaker, or MJF? Who do you think, John, of those three?
Dirty Dom, Braun Breaker, or MJF?
Yeah.
It would be a colossal failure. And I mean that firmly. A colossal failure if Braun Breaker or Dom Mysterio are not champion before MJF. That would be a big problem.
Yeah,
I think
I would say Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker would be the first.
I can see both. Look, if you were to tell me coming out of this that Dom beats Ray in Survivor Series in San Diego and goes on and wins Money in the Bank next year and cashes in, I would totally believe that.
Will it happen? I think it will. I 100% think it will. I think Braun Breaker, you'd said this before. I know you're very high on him. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. I think you're going to see him as wearing the big gold.
Yeah. I think Braun, I think he should have been champion already, but I would say it's probably Braun, Dom, MJF in that order. But yeah, I'll make my bold prediction. I'll say Dom wins Money in the Bank next year, and he goes on to cash that in successfully.
He would be the perfect guy to have the Money in the Bank briefcase and be creeping around with it. Perfect.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm gonna go out on my bold prediction here and say that. Yeah, okay, so you're definitively saying it. You say John Cena is the GOAT. He is the greatest WWE star of all time.
Yeah, he is the GOAT WWE wrestler employee of all time. No doubt about it. It's different. Once again, there's different metrics in all these categories. But when it comes to totality, as you were saying earlier, it is John Cena.
Now, Triple H said that he thinks John's the greatest in the history of the business. You think he's in that conversation? Beyond WWE's walls, beyond the walls of Alexandria?
Interesting. He's definitely in the conversation, no doubt about it. That opens you up to some other interesting acts. You got to put Ric Flair in that conversation when you start going into that.
Sting.
Yeah, Sting, a couple others. But John is up there, dude. He's a Mount Rushmore guy, no doubt.
Yeah. I think that he has had an amazing run, and we'll still do one more Cena episode for his retirement and everything when that all goes down. But it was an amazing moment on Monday night. And you know me, I try to stay pretty measured with stuff when it comes to soaking something in, trying to put it in its historical place. I really feel like this was like one of the better WWE moments in some time. I really do feel that way. And I've never been high on the idea of Cena even winning the Intercontinental Championship, but it's not about that championship. It was about the true babyface having that one more true babyface moment in front of his hometown crowd.
Yes.
And just giving them that feeling that I talked about before. It was a very special segment that they did. And then I give them a lot of credit for it. I thought
it was a very smart, well booked. I mean, they created that match, quickly. Like the promo beforehand was done so perfectly. The way it was set up, bring Dom out with John. They go back and forth. It's in Boston. Dom's got his grievances about his father interrupting him, the week before. And then the fact, no, he says, this old man comes out and interrupt me. That's not how it happens. I'm the one who comes out and interrupts old men like you, John. Get out of here. I'm better than you right now than you were in your prime, whatever. And he said, I'm not even to my prime. He, went on that whole promo.
Yeah.
And then they had the match, man. And it really set the table. And the crowd was so hyped for that whole match. And they were standing. They were into it from beginning to end, from first bell to last bell.
Yeah, and Dave says here before we wrap up, for someone that was ridiculed for not putting people over, Cena has more memorable losses than wins. Punk, Bryan, RVD, among some others. The impact is a testament to how many cared about him. You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, John, like, just the people who complain about, oh, Super Cena, he never loses. Like, he was never afraid to do business. He very much got it. And he understood, like, you got to do the right thing. And, like, there comes a point where after you win so much, you need to get beat. You need to get beat so that people don't completely turn on you and shit on you because, they understand what wrestling is. John was good with that. And he does have some very, very memorable losses. And he elevated a lot of people in those losses, too.
Well, it's also when you win so much, it makes it that when you do lose, it's a pretty big deal.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, shit.
Right.
Daniel Bryan beat him? Sheamus, remember when Sheamus put him through the table and like Sheamus won his first time? Like, oh shit, that's a big deal.
Yeah. That was a big shocker. That was a big shocker to everybody. Yeah.
Oh, that one came out of nowhere. That was totally wild, but it was effective because it was like, oh my God, Cena never loses. That was very effective.
And there was a conversation they were having that they needed to make some new guys because it was so thin up top. They need to make new guys, and I think Cena was like, "Hey, we should make this guy. Let's do this."
And it set such a big bar too. Remember how much time Vince McMahon spent trying to make Roman Reigns John Cena?
Yeah, right.
It didn't work because there's only one John Cena.
Sure,
it's just the truth of it. Last one for you here, Matt, from Dave. Do you think it was hard for John to deal with the 18 to 34 who hated his guts as he carried the PG era?
No, I mean he got it, dude. He was at that point where maybe it was for a small amount of time, but he just got. I mean, it's much like me. Like people talk all this shit to me about whatever, and it's just like it's irrelevant. It just doesn't matter. Because once you get to a certain point in your career, I feel like you know who you are, and you're very comfortable with it, and there's a victory in knowing who you are. And John Cena very much knew who he was. And those people that didn't like him, oh well, that's just how it is. I'll do my best to be on the pulse, and I'll do whatever I can to get them. I'll do the best I can to entertain them, or to make them boo me, or to make me cheer, or to make them cheer me. And if they didn't buy it, then oh well, so be it. Then he still had all those kids because the kids love John Cena.
Well, you like the heat anyway. Give you the heat. That's what you said.
Shit, yeah.
Doesn't matter to you. Give us some love too. Advertisewithhardy.com is where you promote your business to the extreme. Get out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week here. That's advertisewithhardy.com. And of course, a reminder, we want to see you in New York City, the Hardy Party, HardyBoysLive.com, live Extreme Life podcast, live Jeff Hardy concert. It's going to be a time and a half on November 22nd, right before AW Full Gear. The blood and guts have spilled, and we're cleaning everything up there that afternoon in Connolly's. It's going to be a great time. We can't wait to see you. Anything else you want to add here for the diehardies, the sickos, and everyone in between?
That's right. We're less than a week out now. It's about a week out before the Hardy Party. If you are in New York, grab these tickets quick. They are going quick. Grab these tickets, and we want to see you there. I don't want you to miss out on the biggest Hardy Party ever. Here we come, Madison's. Here we come, and not too far from Madison Square Garden.
Maybe we'll be doing Madison Square Garden one day. Who's to say?
Yeah. Not too far from Madison Square Garden over at Conley's. We are going to be in Times Square, and we are pumped and excited to be there.
Pearl Jam will be opening up for us at Madison Square Garden. That's what we're hoping for.
That'd be a hell of a deal, right? Maybe to open up even for us, we could put Michael C. Hall's band up there.
There you go. All right, we'll make it work even better. The words have been spoken. We'll see you next time right here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Delete.
Hey everybody, so by now you've heard me bragging about saving people money at savewithconrad.com for years, but I thought, you know what, don't take my word for it. Let's ask someone who really did save with Conrad. Let's welcome in Tyrus. Tyrus, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, Conrad. How about yourself?
Man, I'm delighted to talk to you. I got to ask, what made you come to Save with Conrad originally?
Well, first, I'm a return shopper, if you will. I was listening to the podcast years ago now with you and Bruce, and I just figured we were in the mode for a refinance, and I heard you guys save money, so I called you guys, got hooked up with Jimmy way back then, and that's really how the ball started to roll.
So initially you were interested in lowering your monthly payments, or did you want to knock out some credit card debt, or what was your goal the first time you went to savewithconrad.com?
It was mostly just to get the lower rate, but there's a little bit of credit card debt in there too, so we rolled that all up.
And you got a cheaper monthly payment on the other side of that?
Yeah, yep. And with this time that I used, it saved me quite a bit a month. Yeah.
So let's talk about what brought you back to Save with Conrad. First of all, thank you for using us not once, but twice. I appreciate that. But that was your needs back then. When was that? Was that 2020 that you did that before?
Yeah, it was around that, maybe 2019, somewhere around that.
Okay. So now a few years later, your needs have changed. What prompted you to go to savewithconrad.com this time?
Well, we were looking to refinance once again because we bought during the high rate time, and we had, a little bit of credit card debt, and we thought, why not hit that refinance button? And originally we were thinking, why not just go through the national brand that was servicing our loan? I called one of them over there, and he crunched the numbers, and he said, no can do. Sorry. And then I thought, I'll just say with Conrad again. And I called, and the delightful Frances answered, and you know her.
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing after I told her what the national brand said, she just said, are they stupid? We can save you money. And she got the ball rolling. I worked with the OG Larry, and saving $425 a month.
All right. I love to hear that, man. $425 a month. I love that, dude. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
If you had someone who was on the fence, because I know that there's a lot of people who just know me as the wrestling podcaster, but if you had someone who listens to my pods and they're on the fence about whether or not this is a real service and can he really do this? I mean, what would you say to that?
Absolutely do it. It worked for me multiple times, from Jimmy way back when to Francis and Larry. It just, the whole team, they just had nothing but great things to say. They're easy to work with. They worked well with the inspectors and everything like that. It's just a great experience, and I would recommend it to anybody.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to help save you some money, and I would be delighted if we could help save you and your family some money. Do what Tyrus did. Go right now to savewithconrad.com. You can talk to a live person, get a quick quote, or just drop us an email directly at conrad@savewithconrad.com. And of course, we can still do it the old school way. Give us a call toll free at 888-425-0105. Thanks for all the time today, Tyrus. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Conrad.
And well, that's number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.